everyone. Thank you, all MassDEP team, for the invite. It's very an honor. I'm very happy to be here with you today, and pretty much who I am. As like the experience that I have, I'm happy to share that experience. So, I am an industrial designer. That's what I went to school to get my bachelor's degree. But I grew up in a family that's very like environmentally kind of aware, and they have like a lot of like civic engagement. I grew up with all of that, and I also had the great opportunity to work on my field as an industrial designer as I was in school, in like designing packaging, and that experience was very revealing for me because it's like the amount of plastic that we're just spitting out like by the minute is pretty amazing. So I had like this call that didn't let me kind of continue down that path, and I started like an entrepreneurship project doing sustainable design. So anything that will be out of recycled materials or repurposed materials, I will do it, like just like as a freelance designer. I did from packaging to interior design. That was an interesting opportunity. And I also had the opportunity to do workshops in the schools, just teaching how to do crafts with recycling materials inside of classrooms. And that was like awesome. I think that helped me realize that my passion for the community was great, like that I really enjoy just being with people, around with people, talking to people and learning with people. And then when I came to Lawrence, I had the opportunity to work at two of the nonprofits in the city that are like very like grounded. So one of them is Groundwork Lawrence, which is the one entitled with everything in regards of environmental protection and education for the city. And Lawrence Community Works, it's a community developing organization, and they are like pioneers in community engagement and community like leadership and connectivity. So I did that for 4 years. I was a community organizer. So today, like I just started as the recycling coordinator for the city of Lawrence. So I pretty much want to talk about my experience as an organizer and how I applied that knowledge into the pilot IQ Kit that we're doing right now, right? Because we did a different way of outreaching this time around. So before I start, and I don't know like how much interaction you would like to do, but I want you to think, like if you didn't have newspapers and social media and radio, and you needed to reach out a big amount of people, where would you start? Who would you talk to? What's the people, who is that people who will be like influential in your community that you think, I'll probably get to this person and then my message is gonna spread out quicker. Like is there anything that you think about? Like, where would you start?
Neighborhood groups.
Neighborhood groups.
Senior center.
Senior centers.
Classrooms.
Classrooms.
City council.
The city council, exactly. So, exactly, city officials, community leaders, local media outreach, to recycling haulers. Like I found, build your relationships with anybody on your team that you're working with, neighborhood associations and community groups, the nonprofit organizations, churches, schools, and what about this room, right? Like anywhere when we go to our peer meetings with our fellow recycling coordinators that have all kinds of experiences. Like for me, like even the first time that I came to one of these meetings, I went out like with two great connections, and like I'm gonna put Amanda on the spot a little bit. Just yesterday we had a meeting in Lawrence, thinking about potential for collaboration among municipalities. So think among yourselves as influencers and people with experience that you can leverage towards your efforts. All right, so again, I'm just going to share a few of the experiences that I've had in the past few years, and I'm sharing them because I thought it was very meaningful. I could use them actually on this process for the IQ Kit, were very relevant. So I've had, like, one of my passions is the environment. One of the ways that I have connected with my community is by volunteering at community cleanups. So there is a community cleanup, I try to be there, I like it, you know, like, so I support it. And that is a community group, a neighbor group that is not like a neighborhood association, it's just a group of neighbors that have been having conversations for a while about how much, like, how dirty their street is, and they wanted to make a difference. So they started doing community cleanups, and then with some support of the organizations, like Loren's Community Works, they got a budget to install trash cans on their street. And then the pictures below is like this year, those trash cans were installed. And I was just lucky and happy to be with them throughout the process. It took a while. So another, like, influencer that also came out of, like, community cleanups, at different communities cleanups throughout the city, is City Councilor Giovanni Rodriguez. This is like a champion for keeping the city clean. Like, he runs cleanups like every week or every other week, rain or shine, no matter what. It's pretty amazing. So I was able to participate on some of them, and then when I started the role as a recycling coordinator, he's been like one of the champions of who helps me pass around the message. He's using his own Facebook page to promote materials. He wrote a little note to introduce myself for his community, and he reposts anything that he sees, like on social media, for the work that we do for the recycling program. And also, I know that I have an ally at the city council, right? So the city councilors are like very important connections that you can start like building those relationships with, and they just bring a lot of people together, and they will support you really, like, when you need to. Another influencer will be, again, out of community cleanups. This woman, Omaira Sepulveda, is a mother who's a leader for the school. You know, she participates in PTO meetings, and she's pretty amazing. She also likes, like, when the city councilor is doing activities around her school, she and her family participates. I was able to meet her probably 2 years ago, and it was very amazing, like, what happened with her, because I just say hi and introduce her what it was going to do with the IQ, and gave her a stack with cards with the information, and that was it. But then, like, a couple weeks after, when I was already doing the IQ, I found a house in one of the most contaminated areas with beautiful, clean recycling. And I'm like, and I was lucky also, the woman was there that morning. I was like, your recycling is beautiful, like, how come, you know? And she was like, oh yeah, I already got the information. You know, my daughter goes to that school, and there's, you know, I got the information from this mother, right? So community leaders are very powerful. Those mothers and parents that participate on PTOs and PTAs and also, like, when you understand who your audience is, like your demographics and the culture that you're working with, I have learned that, well, probably for many cultures, but for the Hispanic cultures, Lawrence is like 75% Hispanic population. They really like one-on-one personal invitations. And people is out in social media and everything, but when a friend of them or somebody that they know is personally giving them the information, it takes a whole different twist. It's like more relevant. It's not that the information is not relevant, but they listen to it in a different way, right? So this woman talked to this other mother who went to that same school, and then boom, clean recycling. And I was just starting doing outreach. I was like, oh my goodness, this is amazing. So, and also we are, through that connection with this woman, getting into the PTO, maybe the clothing recycling program. So a lot of things just will unfold after you connect. Other influencers will be this particular like local newspaper was very happy and willing just to write a little note to introduce the new recycling coordinator for the city, and they wrote an article and they actually put that as their profile picture in Facebook, and that other city councilors shared that article, and it just had it spread out in a way that when I'm walking on the streets, I've already had a few people that tell me, oh yeah, I saw you on the newspaper, you're the girl from the article, or like, and I just, like every time that happens, I'm like, this is very interesting, like how the voice just spread out in many different ways. And again, like this picture was yesterday with Amanda. We were meeting with 2 of the local composters for the area. Amanda kind of like helped us set up this meeting, and it's about, okay, like talking about potential for collaboration and waste reduction, or like do like a zero waste event together. We don't know, but it's all the potential that could happen, but also connecting with local businesses that will support your efforts. You know, like composters are pretty important for this whole initiative like that, like waste reduction and recycling. So that's just it's just a way to say, like, just among ourselves there is a lot of potential, and I'm pretty sure everybody's taking a great opportunity of us being here. So now, regarding the experience for the recycling IQ, we are doing like a very small area. We were getting ready to do like the fall IQ this fall. We had an emergency in Lawrence, so tiny little emergency. And I must say that I was very like a little selfish at the beginning, because when the mayor said like, okay, we can go and do it, but we are just not going to do any big outreach or marketing around recycling. We need to focus on the emergency. And it was like, but the truth is that even today, like there's still a lot of people struggling with it, and the whole, like there's half of the city with the broken streets, and it's very messy. So I'm actually glad they, you know, like it kind of worked out. But then the idea was, okay, like how do we do it in a way that we can get some results, and that we can, you know, prepare for next year, but like planning and kind of like doing like a good outreach, so people is not just getting tags and the recycling rejected without getting the information. Like that to me was very important. So we targeted 3 households per day in the area that was not affected by the gas explosions. And I was passing around like door by door, mailbox by mailbox, the annual input card. And I did that for the first 2 weeks, just outreach and talking to people. One-on-one conversations, whoever I could find in the street, I will ask them, do you live on the streets? Do you live around the neighborhood? And if they ask, like, I will try to just like have that personal conversation about what was going to happen in the next few weeks. And again, that community cleanup just happened to be like with the city council, it just happened to be like a couple of weeks before I started. That was very convenient. And I just planned to be participating of the neighborhood association meetings. Like, so I've been doing like every month, going to every neighborhood association meeting, bringing information, talking to people, answering questions, and that's it. So we started just like everyone. Our baseline for contamination is 35%, pretty high. And we have found, well, many things. You pretty much, if you have done the IQ, or like if you have been outside just checking recycling, it can be very bad, you know, from like almost like half fixes inside of pizza boxes, construction materials, appliances, a lot of food, and bags was a very big thing. So that was just like the beginning when I started. And
could you describe your trash, how your trash is collected too?
Yes.
Is there a limit or anything on?
Yes, so in Lawrence we have, it's a 48-gallon trash cart per family. So if it's like a 2-family house, they will have two 48-gallon trash cans. Unfortunately, right now, the city is not giving recycling containers, right? So it's not like mandatory recycling, and I appreciate a lot, like when I see like people that they're buying their own recycling carts and they have a label that they can we give it out for free, that they can say, okay, this is my recycling bin, right? And they can put out as many as they want recycling. There's no limit for recycling, but we are not giving them the recycling bins right now. So every house has just a 48-gallon cart. And so this is just like me participating of the community organizations and just again like talking to people can be very tiring sometimes. You know, like it takes a lot of energy. Sometimes even like if you are in a rush, like if I really need to go and I see potential to talk to somebody, I probably will leave it for next time. But normally, if you connect with one person and if you have had already this experience, just talking to, could be from 5 minutes to half an hour, and they will let you into your house, invite you coffee, meet their family members. It can be very interesting and fun. Like I think it's a way for the community to say, well, you know, I appreciate what you're doing too. So, you know, come into my house and then from there, those conversations to me are very important because they give you insights about what's going on in the neighborhood. What do they think about the city? Do they connect with their neighbors? Oh, you know, maybe I can leave you a couple more cards so you pass it to your neighbors. And, you know, those conversations can bring a lot of valuable information that you can say, oh, there is a block party tomorrow. Maybe I can show up to that. So take advantage of any conversations you have because they lead to different ways. But most of it, like also when I am able to connect on a kind of like a good one-on-one conversation, I usually take their contact information so I can call them back sometime if I really need to, right? So I usually will have either my phone or a notepad where I can get name, address, and phone number. It's very important, and I will give them my phone number. And I make sure they, you know, that we exchange, and then they know when I'm calling them that it's me. That is something that I truly do. And then today and any day, like people is texting me, asking me questions, and it's like a good way just to follow up. But I think that in the future too, let's say we have a city council meeting, we want to pass an ordinance, I can call them and say, you know, this is what's going on, and if you're in support, please come and, you know, participate of the public participation, support this. They're the people that's behind you. They will bring a message that's more powerful than the one that you can bring, because it's not only you as a city worker, like presenting a project, but it's your community that you have been working with, supporting you behind you. It can be very powerful. So rejections and love notes, like the love notes, I think I have left love notes that are very dirty, very, very dirty. But again, you just need to read your people. You just need to kind of guess a little bit. So for example, the picture on the middle is truly a bag of trash that I found at the recycling, but it wasn't a 3-family dwelling, and the week before was a lot worse. And so I could tell somebody took an effort into cleaning it, and maybe it was just this one tenant who dropped it on their way out to work. And then actually the week after, when it passed again, the recycling was clean. So, you know, I just wanted to show that, like, sometimes it's like, oh man, like this is pretty bad, but depending on like how you see it, because we don't provide the recycling containers when there is like multi-family houses and somebody's recycling, I'm like, all right, there's interest and willing from this person, and I want to figure out ways to support them and let them know. And again, that bag of trash, I was like, okay, I'm just gonna leave it as a love note, but it was awful. And then the progress has been very amazing. I think even like for my city, for my director, the public work director, and the mayor and myself, we at the very beginning were a little uncertain about the feedback that we were going to get from people. We thought we were going to get tons of phone calls of people being upset because we didn't pick up the recycling, but the reactions actually have been very positive, and surprisingly, they're like, genuinely, when they call, it's like, okay, please, let me know. What is it that I'm not doing well? So then you can have a whole different conversation. It's been very interesting, and that picture that we have there to your right, we took it last week. Julia was with us that day on the street, and there is like one block that this group of neighbors, their work schedules are a little, they may work like later or they're retired. For some reason, every time I go there, they just jump into the street. And you can tell they're very good or close neighbors because they talk to each other in a very like friendly way, but they're also very competitive, and they're like, my recycling is better than your recycling. And so it becomes like, like kind of like it's funny, and then just like playing this role of like, yeah, I'm not tickling anybody, but it's like, you're not doing pretty well here. Like, how do you take advantage of that energy that those neighbors are bringing into the streets and into you, and you kind of like connect with them at that time, and you laugh with them, and even if it takes you like 40 minutes, half an hour, it's like, I have to move, but it's okay, especially when you're building those relationships for the first time. It is worth it. It is worth it because then they will help you just kind of like, ¿cómo se dice? Like launch or like leverage those efforts later on. And then you can, take maybe less time next time you see them and move quicker to the other areas. But if you really find people on the street and they're chasing you, inviting you to their houses and like having, like, relax a little bit, breathe in, take that coffee, and laugh about those jokes, and it should be a fun experience for you as well. And just as a little summary, I think, for engagement that I kind of keep on my mind is like, really know your audience, demographics, language. So for example, the annual and the info cards and all the materials are Spanish first and then English, just in case there is people that when they read it and they see it's English at the first, like they don't even bother reading it at all. And the culture. Meet people where they are. A lot of times we send out messages and we hope people comes, but also find out what's meaningful for people and meet them there, and introduce yourself, and that's also a great place to start. Listen to their story, because again, that just gives you insights. It tells you a lot about that particular neighborhood, that particular person, and even like how can you then build that relationship and move and grow from there. Build trust. So you are working for the city and you're asking them to recycle and do it better. So also like if they are telling you a story and they have struggles and problems with trash pickup or any type of things, it's very important that we support them and that we help solve any issues that they may have, and that we follow through, because that's why we're there too. So building trust is like, okay, the reciprocal relationship. Like, yes, we're asking them to do well with recycling, but anything that if they need anything, it's important that that we do our best to support them. So the city doesn't give out recycling bins, but I found this woman who was putting all her recycling in huge transparent bags because she wanted the recycling holders to see that it was recycling. And I'm like, oh, yes, but you know what happens is that we shouldn't do that because then it's not going to get recycled. And she was like, well, if the city is not giving me the recycling container, I'm not recycling. And I was like, just give me a minute. And I went back to my truck and it was around the corner from my office, and I just got like a spare container that I had and give it to her. So if there's anything little things that you can do to say, yes, I want you to recycle, apologize, we don't have the process yet to give recycling to everybody, but here's one for you because I know you want to do it and do it right. So that's a little example, right? And then build your database and invite people to participate. People want to belong, and people want to have this sense of, I have just heard a lot of things that allow me to think how much sense of pride and ownership people have of their city and their neighborhoods. So invite them. Are you thinking on a zero waste event? If you're writing out their information, invite them to come. And again, like if you're going to a city council meeting, let them know it's happening. They may show up or they may not. But if you really, really want to have their support, tell the story and ask for that support and say, I need you now, or build your database and make sure that you're following up, inviting them to those things that also matters for you and the program. Because most likely, people will show up, like not everyone, but some people will show up. And I think that's it. If you have questions, comments.
Wow, I'm so inspired, truly. That was great. Does anyone have any questions for Lorena? All right, we'll wait on, Brooke has one.
I have a question about how active is your social media presence? How often do you post? Is that a big part of it?
The question is, does Lorena have social media? Which Jacqueline has social media, and we'll hear about that next.
The department, so we don't have a recycling social media Facebook or channel. We do it through the Department of Public Works, and the Department of Public Works pretty much posts a lot of things that are related with everything, so for streets and parks, and the recycling, just because we're not right now with the emergency, and just because of the message, the decision of not doing like a strong promotion around social media, we're doing maybe once a week, but not boosting and not really doing a strong social media promotion right now.
Thank you.
You see that your city investing in recycling carts at this point in the future?
Yeah, that's definitely on the plans, and again, this comes through. We have been talking about this with my director and a few city councilors that are very interested. So yes, we really want to do that.
So in terms of, I just want to ask you a quick follow-up question. Given the nature of single-stream recycling, I think we can all agree that single stream has been sort of a double-edged sword for us, and that it's very convenient to get people on board, but it's also created more or less a contamination problem. If you had to suggest to the mayor which way to go, what would you say to them, to him or her? Would you do dual stream or single stream?
I think I will have to look into that because again, like I just got into this role. Actually, I would love to hear more about the dual stream recycling, but then it will just shift the whole conversation. It has been spinning around single stream right now. Yeah, so I will have to look into the dual stream to see like which one will be best for us.
Thank you so much.